What's up, everybody? It's Justin. Hope you're doing great. I want to talk for a minute today about equipping physicians to be able to make informed decisions when they're thinking about working with a financial planner. And specifically, I'm thinking about the residents and fellows who finished their training last month, and all of a sudden, the first paycheck is hitting in August, and maybe you have 10 or 15 grand more in your checking account than you're used to, and you're starting to ask this question, wow, maybe I should find somebody to help me with these things. And what I want to do is help you find the right person. So specifically, the idea I want to talk about today is this: informational asymmetry and how this equates to vulnerability in any type of engagement that you're making with another professional. And specifically, this is quite applicable for financial advisors. And I was thinking about this morning as I was taking my car to the mechanic. And what happened was I was taking my car down the street to the local mechanic, and I was thinking I was going to pay $70 or $80 in order to get an inspection, and then I'd be good to go. Except anybody out there who's probably had this experience, I dropped off my car, I'm sitting in the local Starbucks, they call me and say, hey, Justin, we're looking at things, and it looks like, your front brake pads are getting pretty low. And I think, okay, maybe that's the case, because I heard a little bit of a noise from the front left brake. And then they said, okay, and also your rotors are bad and are going to need to be replaced. And now I'm thinking, oh gosh, I swear I got the rotors replaced last time, but maybe because I live in the city and I park outside, maybe that's accurate. And then it was, there's one or two other things. Your rear tire is a little bit low on the tread. We should probably replace that. And there's a couple other maintenance items that we recommend that you take care of all these things. And so what I came to realize at the end was, instead of paying $70 or $80 like I expected, I was paying $700 or $800. And I was in this situation, and you guys have probably been here, where the informational asymmetry that I experienced, in other words, the mechanic who had all the information and I had none of the information, equated to me being very vulnerable. I basically had to take this guy's word for it. I don't know if my rotors are bad. I don't know if, the rear tire was actually too low to pass inspection, whatever. So I was 100% at his mercy. Now, in a financial advisory engagement, similarly, physicians can be very vulnerable. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that, advisors, in many cases, sort of know how it works, know how the business functions, and physicians, in many cases, have no clue. So one of the ways you can limit your own vulnerability is by breaking down this informational asymmetry and just asking a couple intelligent questions up front that are going to go a long way towards helping you to be less vulnerable as a consumer. So number one, here's a danger: getting sold a product you don't need by a financial advisor. As a physician, if an advisor says, I think you need X, Y, or Z policy or annuity or investment, you don't really know if that's true or not necessarily. You're trusting them. And especially where there's that informational asymmetry, you're vulnerable to potentially buying something that you don't need. And so the way that you combat that is to do this, to ask, advisor, how do you get paid? What's the compensation mechanism with which I'm paying you for your services? And is there a conflict that is going to cause me to question this advice? If an advisor says you need X, Y, or Z, are you getting paid more if I take that course of action? Like Mr. Mechanic, if I do all these things, is your company going to make more? Of course they are. The garage is going to make more. So if you get a fee-only advisor, what this means is that the advisor can't earn any commissions. So it removes a lot of the economic incentive to lie to somebody or misrepresent a need. And so you're going to be a lot less vulnerable if you're working with a fee-only planner, which is definitely what I recommend. The second vulnerability that you may face is this: you might hire somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. And you might not be able to tell until it's too late, unfortunately. Similarly, if you're going in for surgery, I would hope that the surgeon kind of knows what they're doing, and I trust that if they're, boarded and they pass med school and residency, that they do. But I'm really at their mercy. As a consumer in that case, I'm vulnerable, no question. And the way to limit this vulnerability of an advisor ineptitude as a consumer is this: ask this question: what are your qualifications to help me? Meaning, do you have any credentials, any continuing education? And I have them listed across the bottom here: CFP, CPA, CFA, CHFC. These are the four big ones that are the most academically rigorous, the most indicative of an advisor's. I mean, we can't 100% guarantee that they're not inept. Maybe they're just good at studying and good at passing tests and getting certifications. But having one of these designations is a great starting point to guarantee that, or I should say, to help to ensure that hopefully they know what they're doing. The third significant vulnerability that you want to address in order to, limit the potential downside for you as a physician has to do with this. You might work with an advisor where they just don't understand what it's like to work with a doctor or with an anesthesiologist or pain physician specifically, or, a high earner who has high debt. Maybe an advisor, this would be, they primarily work with retirees. And if you come in and you say, I have $250,000 or $300,000 of student loans, or I'm trying to buy into a practice, or I have self-employment income plus W-2 income, and it's a complex situation, you may be getting that advisor into a place where they're utterly uncomfortable, and you might not be able to discern that at the outset. But here's what you should ask. This is really a simple thing, but it's as easy as, do you work with people like me? How many doctors have you worked with in the last year? How many anesthesiologists or pain doctors? How many people with student loans have you helped in the last 6 months? And asking a very direct question like that, especially with situations where, having to do with high income and high debt, which are high stakes territory. Knowing how much experience your advisor has in that realm can be really beneficial. So asking these 3 questions is going to go a long way towards limiting your own vulnerability as a consumer and hopefully landing you with an advisor who's going to treat you really well. So to conclude, the story has a happy ending that I started with, which was at the mechanic. I think that they did a good job, and I do trust these guys. But at the end, I used a little trick that my dad taught me, which is, so do you guys have any coupons right now that you're running in the newspaper? Are there any other deals out there that I should be aware of? And they said, oh yeah, actually, you got the 2 new tires, so we can knock $80 off there, and you got the alignment, so we'll knock $20 off there. And in the end, I saved a couple $100 just by knowing that I could ask the right question and have that, to some extent, limit my own vulnerability. So that's my advice for today. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video.